There's a viral video of a Mexican guy, I think he's a rapper, talking about not wanting to sign to blacks.
Alright, now Willie D, I'm not sure if he's familiar with California politics or Sereno politics, Mexican Mafia politics, all of that. I don't know. Willie D is from Texas. He's from Houston. He's an iconic rapper. I love him. He speaks on black empowerment, and he speaks from a black perspective. But you have to speak from an educated perspective, because this isn't a big deal, because everybody knows in California and amongst the Sereno strongholds all over America, they are allied with the whites. The Aryan Brotherhood is a prison gang. Mexican Mafia is another prison gang. Mexican Mafia, of course, represents Mexicans and Hispanics from Southern California. And at the end of the day, they're allied with the Aryan Brotherhood. In prison, they created a bond through selling heroin in the prisons. So commerce and drugs built a relationship. White guys like to do drugs. They like to sell drugs. The Mexicans have access to the cartels. The Serenos and Mexican Mafia have access to cartels that produce methamphetamine, heroin, and that's the relationship. So they've always been allied against blacks. However, the Norteños are unofficially allied with the blacks, and that originates in the prison system. Some Norteños will not say that in public because they don't want to put it out there, because they don't want to be ashamed of their Mexican heritage. They're ashamed to admit that they are allied and clicked up with the blacks, but that's how it is. So it's a lot of people in the comment section of this video saying, wow, how are they going to take part in an art form that was created by blacks and say, I'm not signing to any blacks? Well, that's because these guys are involved in gang politics, and in 1995, the Mexican Mafia put out an edict saying that Serenos, which are under Mexican Mafia, consider the Mexican Mafia the senators that represent the Sereno street gangs. Only the elite members can make it to the Mexican Mafia. They put out an edict in the 90s saying, we are no longer friends with blacks. So some issues that originated in a penitentiary spread over and spilled out to the streets of California, and that led to that administration of Mexican Mafia members to tell the Serenos we're no longer friendly with blacks, we don't do business with them anymore, or whatever. And because, yeah, in California, blacks and Latinos grow up together, they're friends with each other, they intermarry and everything. And to speak on a particular conflict, Florencia 13 and East Coast Crips have been at war for a long time. A black gang and a Mexican gang. Recently, they've signed a peace treaty. And what's funny is the OGs from each gang all grew up together, went to school together, stayed at each other's house, went to each other's house for barbecues, knew each other's families. The new generation doesn't know each other because the war kicked off, and they just didn't have any frame of reference or experience being friends with the other side. And it all started over somebody getting robbed over some cocaine. So, basically, what's best for the Mexican Mafia's pockets, that's all they care about. The majority of the Mexican Mafia, they're basically 90% heroin addicts. They became friends with the AB because the AB does heroin too, and they want a heroin connect, which is the Mexicans. And basically, politics comes from what's good for my pocket. And yeah, man, Serenos and blacks don't get along. As odd as that may seem, because Serenos embody hip-hop, urban culture. Latinos and blacks created hip-hop, by the way, not just blacks. So yeah, it's kind of sickening, but at the end of the day, Serenos are friends with blacks on the streets, but in prison they pretend they don't know them. So you can be friends with a Sereno on the street, and that's your homeboy, but when you go into prison, he's going to act like he don't know you. The black guys aren't that hardcore. They will acknowledge you, but the Mexicans, yeah, they act all racist in prison, but on the streets, they listen to hip-hop. They're black, basically. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to add my 2 cents. Peace to Willie D.